For 10 years, my life was a monument to careful construction. I'm an architect. I understood load-bearing walls, materials that weathered storms, foundations that sank deep into bedrock. Olivia and I were the blueprint. We met at a friend's rooftop barbecue, a cliché that felt anything but. She was arguing passionately about the typography on a beer bottle label. I was captivated by the way her hands moved, slicing the air with conviction. "Kerning matters, Nathan," she'd laughed, poking my chest. "It's the architecture of letters." Our love felt designed. We built a home, a yellow colonial on Maple Crest Drive. I drew the sketches myself, adding a wraparound porch because she'd loved one in a movie. "Our forever house," she'd whispered the day we got the keys, her breath a cloud in the empty living room. We painted Ella's nursery a soft seafoam green. We argued over the kitchen backsplash for 3 weeks before settling on hand-glazed blue subway tile. It was our mosaic, piece by piece. Ella arrived, all solemn eyes and a fierce, quiet intelligence. Leo followed, a cannonball of joy who treated gravity as a personal challenge. My firm took off. Olivia scaled back her design work to part-time, becoming the sun around which our domestic planet orbited. Soccer carpool, PTA bake sales, the curator of our shared joy. The first crack wasn't a quake, it was a settling, a slight, almost imperceptible shift. It was a Thursday, pasta night. Leo was narrating an epic saga involving his action figure and a broccoli floret. Olivia was scrolling on her phone, her fork twisting idle spirals in her linguine. And then, the spaceship crashed into the volcano, Leo concluded, beaming. "Wow, buddy, that's intense," I said, tousling his hair. "What do you think, Liv? Intergalactic broccoli warfare?" She looked up, her eyes taking a second to focus on us, as if dialing in from a great distance. Oh, yeah, cool, sweetie." Her smile was a delayed transmission. Later, in bed, I rolled toward her. "Everything okay? You seemed a million miles away at dinner." She kept her back to me, the ridge of her spine a wall under my fingertips. "Just tired. This new client for the brewery rebrand is a nightmare, constantly messaging, changing his mind. It's draining." I rubbed her shoulder. "The hipster with the existential IPA? Tell him hops won't fill the void in his soul." She didn't laugh. She stiffened. My hand fell away, feeling clumsy and rejected. "I'll handle it," she said, her voice final. The room felt suddenly colder. The cracks began to spiderweb. Late nights at the studio became a refrain. Her perfume changed. For years it had been vanilla skin, warm and familiar. Now it was something alien, crisp and citrusy, with a sharp alcoholic undertone. One night, reading Goodnight Moon, for the 1,000th time to Leo, he sniffed the air and crinkled his nose. "Mommy smells like the cleaner lady." My heart did a slow, sick roll. "The cleaner lady? Uh-huh, at school. The spray that makes my nose itchy. Disinfectant. Hotel soap. Paranoia. A seed I'd never watered, sent out a toxic root. I fought it. Trust is the foundation, I chanted to myself, the mantra of a fool. You are not a jealous man, you are a supportive husband. But my body knew, before my mind would admit it. The symptom was a petty, humiliating betrayal of its own, a burning itch, a constant low-grade alarm. I sat in a clinic waiting room, feeling like an imposter, surrounded by glossy pamphlets. The young male nurse was breezily professional. "Probably just a little jock itch, mate. Stress can do it." Dr. Evans was different. Her kindness was surgical, precise. When she called me back in, the lab report sat between us, like a grenade with the pin already pulled. "Nathan," she began, her voice lowering into a register reserved for calamity. "Your test has come back positive for chlamydia trachomatis. It's easily treatable with a course of antibiotics, but it's a sexually transmitted infection. We need to discuss contact tracing." The words "sexually transmitted" seemed to echo in the tiny room. The floor tilted. My mouth was full of sand. There's been no one else on OE courts," I managed to croak. "Only my wife, for 12 years. Her professional sympathy was a veil over a truth she saw too often. "I'm very sorry," she said, and the apology was for more than the bacterial infection. The drive home was an out-of-body experience. I passed the park where I taught Ella to ride a bike, the diner where Olivia and I had Saturday morning pancakes when we were too tired to cook. The memories were now artifacts in a museum of a civilization that had just been erased. I found her in the kitchen, bathed in the late afternoon sun, dancing with a wooden spoon to a pop song as she made green smoothies. The scene was so violently normal, it felt like a personal assault. "Kids," I said, my voice a stranger's, cold and flat. "Playroom. Now. Close the door." Ella's eyes went wide. She took Leo's sticky hand and led him away, a little general shepherding her troop. She looked back once, her gaze darting between my face and her mother's. "What is your problem?" Olivia asked, the spoon pausing mid-air. The defensiveness was instant, a shield raised before any accusation was even leveled. I placed the lab report on our blue subway tile, the one we'd chosen, together. "I have chlamydia, Olivia." The color drained from her face, leaving a waxy, ghostly pallor. Then, a tidal wave of crimson fury rushed back in. "Are you serious? You're blaming me? How do you know you didn't pick it up from some filthy toilet seat or something, or maybe from one of your endless client dinners?" Her words were darts, each one missing the point with spectacular malice. The sheer audacity of the lie stole my breath. "A toilet seat," I repeated, a dead laugh escaping me. "I haven't touched another human being romantically since the day I met you. The math is pretty simple. The infection has a timeline. It leads right here. To you." The shield cracked. Her bravado melted into a messy, angry tears, but they weren't for us, they were for her. "You have no idea what it's like. You're either buried in your blueprints or worshipping the kids. I'm invisible. He sees me. It just happened." "It just happened," I echoed, the ice in my voice finally giving way to a scalding heat. "Did his penis just happen to slip into you? Did the condom just happen to fail? Or did you just not give a single, solitary fuck about what you could be bringing home to me? To our home, Olivia." She flinched as if slapped, then her face hardened into something ugly and unfamiliar. "There you go, controlling, monitoring my body! I needed to feel alive, Nathan! Not just like someone's mom, someone's wife! You suffocate me with your perfect life!" The inversion was complete. My love was control. My faithfulness was suffocation. The logic was so profoundly broken it felt like talking to a glitching machine. That night, from the cold exile of the guest room, I heard them, two small shadows in the hallway. "Ella, is Daddy going away?" Leo's whisper was trembly, wet with unshed tears. A long pause. Then my 7-year-old daughter's voice, aged a century in a night. "No, Leo. Daddy's staying. I think Mommy doesn't want to be a family anymore." I pressed my face into the spare pillow, its unfamiliar smell a final insult, and wept so hard I thought my ribs would crack. The antibiotics cleaned my body but left my soul septic. The client had a name, Marcus, a freelance photographer with a portfolio of moody, oversaturated landscapes and an Instagram full of pseudo-philosophical captions. I became a detective of my own ruin, piecing together the timeline from credit card statements, a boutique hotel downtown, charges at a bar called The Alibi, from deleted but recoverable text threads on our shared tablet. Phrases leapt out, "You're my escape." "This is real, he's just furniture. Meet me at the usual place." Each piece of evidence was a surgical strike. The hotel receipt from our anniversary month, the bar tab from the night she'd claimed she was at her sister's. The second, pay as you. Go phone. I found buried in the back of her yoga mat bag, still warm with their filth. But the infidelity was merely the foyer to a deeper hell. I was searching for a missing earring she'd claimed was sentimental when I found the tin. Buried beneath tampons like a shameful secret even from herself. A beautiful hinged thing from an antique store, patterned with peacocks. Inside, a fine white powder and a tiny cut straw. The world stopped. The air left the room. All the oddities, the sudden bursts of frantic energy where she'd clean the entire house at 2 a.m., the crashes where she'd sleep for 16 hours, the money missing from our joint account. "Sorry, I bought those pricey boots. I'll return them." But never did, crystallized into a monstrous obvious truth. I confronted her in the garage, the tin between us on the workbench where I built birdhouses with Leo. "What is this?" It wasn't a question. Her eyes, pupils wide even in the fluorescent glare, flickered with fear, then defiance. "It's nothing. It's just something to take the edge off. Because of you. Because of this pressure." This is cocaine, Olivia. Or worse. This isn't taking the edge off. This is jumping off the fucking cliff. You don't own me, she shrieked, spittle flying. You don't get to police my body, my mind. I'm drowning here, and he threw me a lifeline. This helps me feel. The argument was circular, insane. My concern was control. Her self-destruction was liberation. She moved out the next day, to find space and clarity. She moved in with Marcus. The children were silent ghosts. Ella stopped drawing. Leo started wetting the bed. My support system, the bedrock I'd neglected to appreciate, mobilized. My parents took the kids every weekend, giving them a rhythm of normalcy. My sister, Mara, showed up with a casserole and a USB drive. Mark helped me, she said grimly. On it was every shred of evidence, meticulously organized for a lawyer. My best friend Mark, a family law attorney, worked pro bono. We're getting full custody, Nate. She's not coming back to this house. The divorce papers were served. Olivia, lost in her spiral, signed them with a shocking apathy. The court, faced with the evidence of adultery, substance abuse, and abandonment, granted me primary physical and legal custody. She got supervised visitation. It felt less like a victory and more like being awarded the deed to a bombed-out city. Her parents, decent people hollowed out by shame and worry, finally intervened. They cornered her, cried, threatened, begged. To everyone's stunned disbelief, she agreed. 30 days in a luxury rehab center upstate. A reset, her mother told me on the phone, hope a fragile bird in her voice. Maybe this is the bottom. A sick, traitorous part of me, the part that remembered the woman who argued about kerning, hoped so too. Not for me. For the phantom of the mother my children deserved. She lasted 11 days. The call came at 3:17 a.m., the time of all true horrors. A detached, weary voice from the center. Mr. Thorne, there's been an incident regarding Olivia. We need you to contact her next of kin. She'd been discovered unresponsive. A contraband substance was suspected. Fentanyl, likely smuggled in during a family visit, Marcus's final, lethal gift. They'd resuscitated her, but she'd coded again in the ambulance. She was pronounced dead at 2:55 a.m. I hung up. I walked to the kids' rooms, standing in each doorway, watching the steady, innocent rise and fall of their chests. Then I walked to the kitchen, sat at the table we'd shared, and put my head in my hands. I didn't cry. I felt a vast, cosmic emptiness. Then came the bitter, acidic tang of irony, so strong I gagged. All her screams about freedom, about autonomy, about being a queen breaking free of her chains, and her ultimate, sovereign act was to ingest poison and die alone on a linoleum floor. The ultimate rebellion. The final slay. She had, in her twisted logic, finally shown me. She was free. And she was nothing. Telling Ella and Leo was architecture of a different kind, building a terrible truth with the softest materials I could find. We sat on the big sofa, them in their pajamas, me holding their hands. Your mom was very sick, I began, my voice thick. You know how sometimes people get sick in their bodies, like with a cold. Mommy was sick in her mind, in her heart. The sickness made her make very bad choices, and it hurt her body too. Last night, her body just couldn't fight anymore. Her heart stopped. Ella stared at me, her eyes ancient. Is she gone like Grandpa? Yes, sweetheart, she's gone. Leo curled into my side. Did it hurt? The question shattered me. I hope not, buddy. I really hope not. We held each other, a three-legged creature of loss. Their tears were hot and cleansing. Mine, when they finally came, were a silent flood of grief for the past, for the future they'd lost, for the woman who'd been erased long before she died. The funeral was a study in muted tones. Her family, wrecked. Mine, a protective cordon around me and the kids. Marcus was nowhere to be found. People clasped my hand. You're so strong. I wasn't. I was numb, a automaton programmed to nod and thank people for coming. But in the weeks and months after, the numbness receded and the painful work of healing began. The antibiotics had done their job long ago. The divorce was a closed file. The justice was quiet. It was the safety in Ella's eyes when she came home from school. It was Leo's laughter returning, a sound I feared I'd never hear again. It was the bank statement showing a steady balance. It was the slow, meticulous dismantling of the life we'd shared, packing away her clothes, not in anger, but as an archaeological act, sealing away a lost culture. One Saturday, my father was helping me rebuild the porch swing, the one where Olivia used to read on summer evenings. He handed me a wrench, our movements in sync. "You keep asking why, son," he said, not looking at me, focusing on tightening a bolt. "You're an architect. You know some materials look solid but have a flaw, a weakness you can't see until the weight hits." The weight hit. The flaw was there. It's not a reason, it's just a fact. He was right. The why was a black hole. Why did a decade of love vaporize? Why did she choose poison over her children? There was no answer that could fit in the hollow space she'd left. The clarity came slowly, like dawn. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about the geometry of what remained. It was the acute angle of my sister Mara's shoulder as she sat with me in silence, not needing words. It was the parallel lines of my parents' support, unwavering and true. It was the circle of Mark's friendship, checking in every Tuesday without fail. It was the vibrant, messy triangle my children and I formed, a shape that was stable, strong, and ours. The trust in my marriage was annihilated. A cathedral turned to dust, but as I sat on the repaired swing with Ella on one side and Leo on the other, watching the fireflies rise in the twilight, I felt a new, tentative trust. Trust in the solidity of this porch. Trust in the resilience of these two hearts beating against me. Trust in the stubborn, persistent good of the people who had chosen to stay. The foundation was gone, but we were learning to build on what was left, and for now, in the quiet of the gathering dark, it was enough.